country. Let us think about what we wish for this Senate to be remembered for, then set our targets, focus, and achieve. My office, that of the Senate leadership and the Secretariat, will always be at your disposal to facilitate you to do your work. Honorable Senators, as you have noted, the only business in today's sitting is the approval of senators to serve in the Senate Business Committee. If the motion is approved, then the newly constituted Senate Business Committee will meet at the rise of the House to deliberate and schedule business for the rest of the week. The meeting will be in the Senate chamber. I wish you a happy new year, and I thank you and wish you all a fruitful session. Thank you. Senator James Orengo, Leader of Minority.
Mr. Speaker, arising out of your communication from the chair, I just want to appreciate the role that the lawyers in the Senate have played, particularly Senior Counsel Senator Okongo Mugeni and Senator Mtula Kilonzo and the staff in the legal department of the Senate or Parliament. As you know, the High Court had made orders which required the National Assembly to abide by the Constitution in relation to Article 110(3) of the Constitution. I want to appreciate, Mr. Speaker, what you have done, because your predecessor in the 11th Parliament stuck his neck out to ensure that the role of the Senate is not belittled, but there should be respect for the law and for the role of the Senate. And similarly, in this case, as it went to the High Court, Mr. Speaker, you were the first petitioner, and the High Court upheld what was already decided by the Supreme Court, that the National Assembly must abide by Article 110, Sub-Article 3 of the Constitution. Now, there was an attempt to get the Court of Appeal, the Kenya Court of Appeal, to issue conservatory orders to ensure that the National Assembly continues to violate the Constitution by not complying by Article 110(3) of the Constitution, and that in their view, the work of the National Assembly and Parliament was coming to a standstill, and the Court of Appeal disagreed and said they must comply with the orders that were made by the High Court. Now, Mr. Speaker, what I really wanted to bring out in this is that it has cost the National Assembly 90 million shillings. It has cost the National Assembly 90 million shillings to defend this case. They have paid lawyers 90 million shillings to prosecute this case, I understand, just in the Court of Appeal. The Senate has spent not a single cent in this case. The Senate has not spent a single cent in this case. It has not even provided even coffee or tea by whatever description to the lawyers who have been prosecuting this case. And this is what is in Article 110 of the Constitution, patriotism. So I think the senators here have been duly patriotic to make sure that no public money is spent in the resolving of the dispute between us and the National Assembly. And before I forget, the former chairman of the committee, legal committee, the Senator Fernandi, this whole affair started during your tenure. The preparation of this case and instituting this case before the High Court. And the distinguished senator from Meru, who was vice chair in the legal committee. And I was also one of your members. Yeah, so I think the senators need to congratulate themselves in this great achievement. And the loss in terms of public resources should also be borne by the National Assembly. I mean, not as an institution, but individually. Because now they have to republish all those bills. And those bills must go through the National Assembly and the Senate at great public expense. I think that should never have happened in the beginning. So I say this with not in triumphalism, but saying it pays to obey the law. Even as we disagree or we agree, it pays to obey the law. Whatever is your political persuasion, but at the end of the day, it pays to obey and comply with the law. Whatever your position in life, and I'm saying this now that we are going to go through tumultuous times, I can't say that this period we are going into is going to be, it may be an understatement, but I think at the end of the day, on both sides of the political divide, those who are going to win are those who are going to comply with the law. And those who disobey the law, ultimately, you may have to pay for it. But in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much and for making it possible, whereas when some of us were away, making it possible for us to prosecute this case from abroad without an extra expense being paid by the Senate. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, like I indicated, we have no business so far. So we cannot make my speech, my welcoming remarks, a subject of debate. So therefore, we make to the next order. No, we go to the next order so that we have constitute the House business, which will then give us what to discuss. That is the standing orders. So please, let's not start on a wrong footing by breaking the law. Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion.
Leader of majority. Leader of majority.
The Speaker.
Order, Senator Murkomen. I have not given you a chance.
You called the leader of majority, Mr. Speaker.
No.
You didn't specify.
Take your seat.
No. It's which one?
You are out of order. Senator Murkomen.
You didn't specify it's which one.
Senator Murkomen, take your seat. You are not the leader of majority.
Mr. Speaker, there's a confusion in the House.
No. Take your seat.
Especially Mr. Speaker.
You are out
on a point
of
of order. On a point of order, Mr. Speaker. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, on a point of order, there is confusion in this House. Mr. Speaker, you remember May 12 last year, 2020, you were to give a ruling as to whether there is a proper removal of a majority leader or not. It's now 1 year down the line, Mr. Speaker, we are not so sure who is the majority leader. In fact, Mr. Speaker, what makes it even more complicated is that on our side, the caucus, Mr. Speaker, that is, we have a caucus of 2 sides of senators, one called Kieleweke, Mr. Speaker, and one called Progressive. The Progressive one has more members than Kieleweke, Mr. Speaker. Which Senator Bokisho belongs?
Order, Senator Murkomen. No, you're out of order. Don't introduce extraneous things to the House.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of
Senator,
order.
Leader of Minority, approach
Speaker,
the chair.
on a point of order.
No. Order. Take your seat. I'm not going to allow people to be on the floor when you are requesting for. It's not a formality. Take your seat, Senator Cherargei. Leader of Majority, move. Give your notice of motion. You will see him. You will see him.
Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That pursuant to Standing Orders 184 and 189.3, the Senate approves the following senators nominated to serve in the Senate Business Committee, in addition to the Speaker of the Senate, who, pursuant to the Standing Order 184.1, shall be the chairperson of the committee, the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, the Senate Majority Whip, and the Senate Minority Whip. 1, Senator Fatuma Dulo, CBS MP. 2, Senator Sakaja Johnson, CBS MP. 3, Senator Gideon Moy, CBS MP. 4, Senator Charles Kibiru, MP. 5, Senator Cleophas Malala, MP. 6, Senator Beatrice Kwamboka, MP. And 7, Senator Ledama Olekina, MP. Thank you, Speaker.
Okay. Next order.
Order number 7, statements. Order number 8, motion.
Leader of Majority.
Speaker, sir, I beg to move the following motion. That pursuant to Standing Orders 184 and 189, 3, the Senate approves the following senators nominated to serve in the Senate Business Committee. In addition, the Speaker of the Senate, who pursuant to the Standing Order 184.1, shall be the chairperson of the committee, the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, the Senate Majority Whip, and the Senate Minority Whip. 1, Senator Fatuma Dulo, CBS MP. 2, Senator Sakaja Johnson, CBS MP. 3, Senator Gideon Moy, CBS MP. 4, Senator Charles Kibiru, MP. 5, Senator Cleophas Malala, MP. 6, Senator Beatrice Kwamboka, MP. And 7, Senator Ledama Olekina, MP. Speaker, this is...
let's consult in low tones. Yes. Senators, let's consult in low tones.
Speaker, this is a procedural motion. This is a motion that's straightforward. There's no business which can start in the House, Speaker, unless this team is put in place. Today, this is the most important committee at this moment, Mr. Speaker, and I ask members to therefore pass this list and so that we can begin the business of the House and make sure that we move on from there. Mr. Speaker, I should also have started with welcoming members back and also saying Happy New Year to them. And now ask them, Mr. Speaker, to support this. And I want to move and ask the Senate Minority Leader to second. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to second. And Mr. Speaker, you could see...
Order, senators. I think let's consult in low tones. There seems to be a lot of, I don't know whether it's excitement, you have missed each other, but you can express your excitement in other forms, so long as we also proceed, Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I hope that as we consult, we're able to go down on record in matters of debate, that we give ourselves time to prosecute business that's before us. But, Mr. Speaker, I second this motion and just want to note that the membership of the House Business Committee is basically assigned to certain offices in the leadership whose names do not appear. And that is a matter of standard practice and flows from the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. Now, the names that you find in the list are also basically names of other leaders, including majority, deputy majority leader, deputy minority leader, and the whip, and to some extent, some members who do not have leadership positions, to give color and character to this committee. This list is the same as it was in the last session. The reason being that we thought that making any changes at this stage, irrespective of what has happened, and we cannot be oblivious of the fact that we don't live in a political vacuum, but to demonstrate that it was desired for whatever reason, and those reasons I think are positive, that all members who had served as, and some of these members didn't start from the beginning of the last session. They came in the middle of the last session. So, Mr. Speaker, this being a procedural motion, what I would only ask is that the task ahead is going to be intractable and serious, in the sense that, as you said in your communication, many bills have been republished, including some that have been assented to and were rendered unconstitutional by the High Court. So all those bills are going to come back here. And some of those statutes relate even to financial statutes, which are required to be passed by the National Assembly, essentially. But because there was no consultations between you and the Speaker of the National Assembly, all those were rendered unconstitutional. So the business of the House is going to be heavy. And therefore, the House Business Committee, as you said, needs to sit not tomorrow, but today, in order to make sure that all this business comes into, onto the floor of the House. And Mr. Speaker, finally, I would want to urge this House that in this period, we are going to distinguish ourselves as senators and parliamentarians. And I am saying this knowing that, as I said in the beginning, it may not be quite an easy year for either houses. But what will distinguish us is by being positive and being true to our calling as legislators, as spelled out in the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. So, Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to second. Thank you.
Okay, honorable senators. I propose the question, which is that pursuant to standing orders, observe the standing orders, that pursuant to standing orders 184 and 189.3, the Senate approves the following senators nominated to serve in the Senate Business Committee, in addition to the Speaker of the Senate, who pursuant to Standing Order 184.1 shall be the chairperson of the committee, the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, the Senate Majority Whip, and the Senate Minority Whip. 1, Senator Fatuma Dulo, CBS MP. 2, Senator Sakaja Johnson, CBS MP. 3, Senator Gideon Moi, CBS MP. 4, Senator Charles Kibiru, MP. 5, Senator Cleophas Malala, MP. 6, Senator Beatrice Kwamboka, MP. And 7, Senator Ledama Olekina. Senator Linturi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I address myself to the substance of this motion, allow me remind this House in view of what Senator Orengo has just said on the floor in regard to the work that was done by the senior councils. Mr. Speaker, there are two magical ones that are often listened and where many people may not understand its impact. One is I am sorry. Number 2, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I am saying this because Senator Orengo, having said that the Senate has not spent a single coin in the defense of this matter, whereas the National Assembly spent over 90 million, is something we must, and I must advise, that there is a way we can tell thank you the senior councils or the people that we involved to. I really appreciate their input and their work in defending this matter. But one, Mr. Speaker, remember you have a team that every year, by December, where members are recommended for awards. Mr. Speaker, the time has come when you must start thinking about these things, because most of the time we see lists, we don't know how they are cooked, how they are manufactured. When you look at the history, there is nothing to show for it. So, Mr. Speaker, that's my input on that. And I want to agree that the proposed members of the House Business Committee have really an enormous task ahead, because of the various reasons that were mentioned, and considering that the 24 statutes were rendered unconstitutional by the High Court, and for that matter, in terms of prioritization on how they shouldn't come before in this House, relies on them. Mr. Speaker, allow us to remind you that it's not only those other statutes. I am aware that there are other statutes or bills in the National Assembly whose concurrence was not sought, and if they were sought, probably it may have escaped you, because there is a specific bill that has to do with, I don't know, the Kenya Aviation Bill or something. There is such a bill, which I don't think was ever committed or brought to you, or which is likely to find its way to the Senate, and the issues that are being raised in that particular proposed legislation are enormous, and I think that must pertain counties, and which we must really contribute to. So, Mr. Speaker, I would urge that this is checked so that we have an opportunity to debate and participate in the passage of that legislation. So the committee, I may have some certain reservations because of certain political persuasions on this list, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, but allow me ask them, because we are supposed to work and for the greater good of the public, of the people of this country. Kindly, as you engage, as you prioritize bills, please remember we serve the public, and the public or our voters, our priority number one. So those bills that have to do with the strengthening of our coffee crops, sugarcane, fish, or whatever it is, whether it's animal husbandry, or whatever it is that has so much to do with the common mwananchi, kindly make it as a priority. Let us have them brought here the fastest time possible so that we can deal with them, because our Kenyan people, the public is suffering. Those bills that have to do with the finances, we want them because the country is bleeding. People are poor. Those bills that are likely to spur economic growth or stimulate the economy, in ensuring that those people whose money is spending in the counties, money is pending in the national government for failure and inability of an insensitive system to pay people money in good time, is brought before this House for debate and passage. So, Mr. Speaker, I support the list, but please be cognizant of the fact that we are really and ready to work overnight to ensure these bills are passed, so that as also we comply with the recommendations or with the advice of the High Court in terms of ensuring that these bills are aligned to the Constitution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wambua.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of the Constitution of the Senate Business Committee. I do believe, Mr. Speaker, as my predecessors have said, that the membership reflects divergent views, and they shall be able, Mr. Speaker, to apply themselves fully to the business of this House. Mr. Speaker, in support of that list, I want to make a very passionate appeal, Mr. Speaker. I want to begin where my brother, Senator Linturi, has ended. Mr. Speaker, there is business before us that has got to deal with issues affecting the common mwananchi. And there is a lot of that business, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have said many times that Kenya is an agriculture-based economy. There are bills that relate to farming, Mr. Speaker, that are pending, and that, Mr. Speaker, I would really want to make an appeal. I have brought a bill, Mr. Speaker, on dengue, and I want to urge this committee, as they begin the business of this session, to give priority to such bills. Any bills, Mr. Speaker, that deal with manufacturing, bills that deal with security, bills that deal with the health of our people. So, Mr. Speaker, when those matters come here, then we can deliberate on those bills and make laws and legislate on issues that affect our people. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Onesimus Kipchumba Murkomen.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this motion. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I'd like to join you in welcoming all of us to come back to this the last year of our presence in this House, the last full year, Mr. Speaker, knowing that next year will only be about 3 months we'll be here, the rest campaigning, and then, Mr. Speaker, elections. And so this year, if there's anything we want to do for the people of Kenya, this full year is very important for us, considering how time moves very fast. I really concur with Senator Linturi and Senator Wambua that it's time, Mr. Speaker, we stamp our legacy as a Senate in pursuing and perpetuating issues that are related and Mr. Speaker, that affect hustlers. Mr. Speaker, hustlers out there Mr. Speaker, looking up to this House because we called ourselves the House of Mwananchi, Mr. Speaker. And if we are a House of Mwananchi, we must pursue policies and push for legislation and motions, Mr. Speaker, that will elevate the suffering of what they are loosely called sufferers, Mr. Speaker, and Masafara of
Senator
this
Outa,
country.
what's your point of
Mr.
intervention?
Speaker.
There is a point of intervention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do not really want to interrupt my good friend, Senator Murkomen. But Mr. Speaker, Murkomen has been here for a while, and you've heard him using an parliamentary language, the hustler. Can he define, because if the bill only going to help the hustler, does it mean that we only have the hustlers in the entire Republic of Kenya, or the other some people, and who are the hustlers?
Mr. Speaker, I respect my friend Outa. We've been friends for many years. When I used to be Mutu ya Mkono ya former Prime Minister. And so we used to meet somewhere in that floor, second floor of now Harambee Annex. So he's my very good friend. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate also, because of his advanced age, he may not understand that, Mr. Speaker, English has evolved. And if he was to consult this dictionary today, he will appreciate what the hustler means in your English dictionary. That, Mr. Speaker, is a person who is hustling, Mr. Speaker. And hustling means you're working hard to make a living. And it is usually referred to the people who are at the lower cadre of the pyramid, Mr. Speaker, of life. And people who you would call, Mr. Speaker, middle class and below, that are struggling to make a living every day. And those are the people, Mr. Speaker, I want this House to focus on, because for far too long, our focus, we've been pushed to defend, Mr. Speaker, the privileged, the people who are holding public office, the people who have held wealth, Mr. Speaker, for many years. This House, this year, must stamp its authority. Now that everybody agrees, everybody, both
Senator
sides of the political divide,
there's
Mr.
an
Speaker.
intervention by Senator Kwamboka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senator Murkomen is telling us that the meaning of a hustler, according to him, it is not what he's thinking about. Because to me, I've Googled, a hustler is a person adept at aggressive selling or illicit dealing. Or number 2 is a prostitute. Can you tell us exactly what is the meaning of a hustler?
Mr. Speaker.
I don't know whether Senator Murkomen wants to be informed.
Yeah, please proceed. Professor of Linguistics can inform himself.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to correct by saying that language is a dynamic. Listen, Cherarge. Language is dynamic in nature, and most of the words adapt their meaning based on context at a particular point of time. And in this particular point of time in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, hustler is understood to be a hard-working person attempting to earn a living, a genuine living, right from a lower cadre, so that in future, the same person can also be privileged like any other. So that is the most understood, the most genuine meaning currently. Otherwise, language is dynamic, and it can adapt several meanings as we go by. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I'll accept so many people, including Senator Wambua here, to tell me meaning of words in English, but not Senator Kwamboka. Mr. Speaker, because the simplest answer I would give, is that words have more than one meaning. And Google is not an authority for studying English. If you want to study English, please don't rely on Google. Google has everything. It has bad English and it has good English. Mr. Speaker, the point I'm making is that as a House, we must, Mr. Speaker, focus authoritatively on things that affect Mwananchi. And if I look at this list, Mr. Speaker, generally these are people I've worked with, including Senator Kwamboka, whom I could classify, Mr. Speaker, as a hustler. And Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the definition she gave, she still fits into this category of hustlers. And Mr. Speaker, my only concern is that I would have requested some people here to also give way to other people to serve. Because, Mr. Speaker, we have some senators here who rarely come to the House. They only vote. And they may never understand the dynamics of what the members go through here. And Mr. Speaker, I adequately represented the leadership of the House, notwithstanding that these are the chairmen of cattle dip, Mr. Speaker, when they have only 3 cows. So, Mr. Speaker, we need also to appreciate that other people should be given an opportunity, and even if it means midway through this year, we can change the membership to accommodate other people that can bring different ideas to the Senate Business Committee. Mr. Speaker, I have no problem with my friend Senator Sakaja. He should have risen by now to a senior position in our side, this other side. And in the caucus that we have, which is very progressive, if Sakaja accepts, he should be the majority leader of that caucus, Mr. Speaker, because he is, I believe that...
Is that a House caucus or some...
It's a House caucus of the majority side, Mr. Speaker, yet to be registered with you in this session. That, Mr. Speaker, we need also people who will not become extremists. Because you can see in this list, there is a huge number of persons from the majority side who are not represented. And Mr. Speaker, I will ask you, Senator Ledama, to please hold our brief there as a support of pastoralists and hustlers. Mr. Speaker, I beg to support.
Senator Wetangula.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, sorry. I join you in welcoming distinguished senators back to the House after the long recess through the holidays of end and beginning of the year with the challenges of Corona and the emerging tensions caused by political activities in the country. Now that we are back, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say one or two things. One, the composition of the committee is not an issue. What they will do is what matters. And I believe that under your able leadership, the committee will be able to navigate and drive the business of the House that meets expectations of Kenyans. Equally important, Mr. Speaker, is as we go towards the budget cycle for this financial year, I want to urge the chairman of the Finance Committee and the members that include myself that we did pass the formula that gave additional resources to our counties that we represent. The drums that we are hearing beating from the Treasury, Mr. Speaker, are not very encouraging. And it does appear like the formula that we passed in its very first application is going to be honored in breach. And that is not a good idea. We want to see, Mr. Speaker, that whatever happens with the national pass, the first point of honor by the executive and the treasury and the government is to honor the promise given of 370 billion in the budget that is coming in a very due course, so that counties can start feeling, testing, and benefiting from the new formula that we painstakingly passed here. So I want to encourage those in the Finance Committee, more particularly the chairman, the distinguished Senator for Kirinyaga, and his committee, to engage the Treasury in a more robust manner than has been before, so that the Treasury does not exercise a discretion they don't have in departing from the formula that we passed in this House, so that counties can be able to receive their just expectations in terms of allocations in Kara. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I saw in media somewhere that all the bills that were invalidated by the High Court, and rightly so, are going to be republished. I want to urge SBC to ensure that these bills, once they come for first reading, if they originate from here or from the lower house, to be committed to the committees, and the committees to do a thorough scrutiny of these bills, because they were steamrolled through the lower house without our input, and we should not in any way turn out to be rubber stamps to pass bills without scrutiny when we were protesting and complaining that we were ignored in those bills being heard. We must make a difference, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to support.
Senator Sakaja.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware of this caucus where I was being crowned as Majority Leader. We have confidence in the leadership in this House that we have. But Mr. Speaker, allow me to join you in welcoming members back to this very important penultimate session of the Senate, and really encourage us to put our best foot forward. I want to agree with this motion and support it in terms of reconstituting SBC. Despite being one of the members, I heard Senator Orengo saying it consists of the leadership plus other members who had color. You know, Mr. Speaker, the rest of us, it's not just color. If you look at those numbers, I don't know whether it is Senator Dulo who's adding color, or Senator Kwamboka, or who, but a lot of substance. It's a type of art, you know, beyond just color, Mr. Speaker. It's a very important committee because it sets the tone of the House. They say that the liaison committee is the cabinet of the House, and if that's the case, then the SBC is the deep state of the House, because it then looks at all issues more than just legislative business. So I'd encourage members that it's a task. Maybe for those who are not in the list, there's no privilege. It is just work. There's no privilege of being in SBC. It is just additional work. There are no trips. It is really work. But Mr. Speaker, I'd like to encourage colleagues. It is true. I don't know if there's ever been any trip. Kazi too. Yes. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage, based on the ruling that has come out, Mr. Speaker, there are very many bills which we had gone very far with. Some to the stage of committee that have been republished, I would urge, and I know I will still canvass this within the committee, that we prioritize those first. And we find a way through the standing orders to fast track, because a lot of public participation had been done. Members had already canvassed the issues in second reading. So if we can really fast track those bills and bring them to committee stage where they had been, including, Mr. Speaker, the prompt payment bill, which I saw now BBI has even picked up as one of their proposals, yet we had already reached committee on that bill, that we can actually move very fast on that so that we can make progress. Mr. Speaker, finally, I'd like to encourage chairs of committees that were back as my colleague chairs. There's a lot of pending business out there in the country. There are a lot of issues, there are a lot of petitions, there are a lot of matters of the common wananchi which we need to look at. I know many committees have started. We've started our committee of labor this coming weekend. We intend, and Mr. Speaker, you have not approved, but we intend to really do our planning, because there are a lot of matters of labor and social welfare that we need to focus on. Finally, Mr. Speaker, what Senator Wetangula has said, I think the radar of Senate must be up. Our antennas must be up. If you look at the proposals that have been brought by the CRA, and what Treasury is talking about, there is an attempt, Mr. Speaker, to circumvent the resolution of this House on the formula through the back door. And the proposal is that the 316.5 billion is what is equitable share, and the rest to come through conditional allocations. And Mr. Speaker, that the Senate will resoundingly reject, because there's a reason why we went painstakingly through the process and we got a promise of 370. And the 370 will be found not by additional resources, but by reallocating the 80% or whatever goes to national government. It will be found. You find many functions that are devolved, for instance, agriculture and health, have huge budgets at the national level, yet that money needs to be at the county. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll urge senators from across the divide. I know this year there'll be a lot of politics, but I'll urge senators on certain sacrosanct issues which are fundamental to the mandate of the Senate. Let us see eye to eye. Let us not be divided. Yes, Senator Wambua, also Ndengu. Yeah, we're great participants. So, Mr. Speaker, welcome all of you back to the capital that I represent. Welcome back from the villages. And I'm sure you've seen Nairobi. You've seen Nairobi has been peaceful. I have had senators and politicians doing a lot of bad politics outside the country and across the country. Please come back to Nairobi with some decorum. Our youth do not want to be part of the poisonous politics that is beginning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mwenyehaji. Yes, what's your point of order, Senator Orengo? There is a point of order, Senator Mwenyehaji.
You know, the Honorable Senator from Nairobi is creating alternative facts. If ever he could deny there was a Githurai and Bama, where we saw least decorum. So he should be the one to go to the village. And by the way, anytime he has gone to the village, he has come out a better man. And he goes to his ancestors, and he says his roots are there, and he comes back a better man. So I think what you have learned in the village is good for the city.
Senator Mwenyehaji.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii pia kuunga mkono uteuzi wa kamati ya kuendesha ratiba ya Senate. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia ningependa kwanza kukupa mkono wa mwaka mpya tahania, na kwamba tuko tayari kuendelea kufanya kazi kuhakikisha kwamba ile miswada yote ambayo inakuja katika bunge hili inachunguzwa na kupitishwa kama inavyohitaji sheria. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia ningependa kusema kwamba katika mwaka uliokwisha tuliweza kupata ile tunaita milestone kubwa, wakati Speaker ambaye alikuwa ni wa muda Senator Mwaura alipoendesha ratiba ya bunge kwa lugha ya Kiswahili, lugha ya kitaifa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni matumaini yetu kwamba mwaka huu pia tutakuwa na fursa kama hiyo kuhakikisha kwamba tunakuza lugha ya Kiswahili, ili kuona kwamba wengi ambao wanasikiza mijadala katika bunge hili wanaweza kujua ni mambo gani ambayo yanajadiliwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, kamati hii ya bunge nafikiri kwa muhula ambao uko na mambo ya mabadiliko ya katiba ambayo yatakuja, itakuwa ni muhimu kwanza kufanya kazi kwa bidii ili kuhakikisha kwamba bunge hili halipati labda vipindi ambavyo hatuna mijadala ya kuweza kuendeleza katika bunge hili. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Christopher Langat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like also to join you and the rest in supporting this particular motion. And I want to say that it's a very important year, whereby this is a year when we shall be very active on bills that support the common wananchi. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that this particular group of senators, I have a lot of confidence in them. It is my encouragement to them that they will do their work with a lot of effort so that we move forward to make sure that the bills that are very important to our people gets through. I would like also to encourage you from your side, Mr. Speaker, that you work very closely with the Speaker of the National Assembly to reduce a lot of backload of the work that we pass from this side and stagnate on the other side. So I want to encourage the members that are coming in this particular Senate Business Committee to assist you a lot in making sure that your work is easier so that this particular Senate moves forward. We have also realized that the citizens of this country have got a lot of confidence with this particular Senate. That's why most of the petitions that are touching most of the issues affecting them comes to the Senate. So it is high time that we encourage one another, that we support those petitions, so that our confidence among the wananchi is kept on high. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr.
Thank you, Speaker. I support the motion, although I'm also a member. Speaker, this will be an important session. If there's a time, Mr. Speaker, you require some thick skin, it's this session. If there's a time you require prayer, it's this session. If there's a time there will be hostile takeovers, it's this session. If there's a time there will be mergers, it's this session. If there's a time parties will split, it's this session. And Speaker, we'll be calling upon you to guide us. Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether you mentioned that Senator Orengo and I got a favorable ruling last week in your favor and in favor of this House, and we would like to exploit that ruling to the fullest extent possible. A lot of these members, Mr. Speaker, have spent a lot of time drafting bills, and Mr. Speaker, this will be a good opportunity for these members to get their bills signed into law. Mr. Speaker, the 23 bills which you have agreed with Speaker Muturi and others that are pending, Mr. Speaker, this will be a great opportunity, Mr. Speaker, for those bills to be tabled and, Mr. Speaker, for those bills to be passed into law as quickly as possible. I was going to suggest, Mr. Speaker, that a session amongst us is important, outside cameras, where we can agree on our work. Mr. Speaker, we can find a budget, and the clerk is here, for a retreat, for particularly the bills. Mr. Speaker, we must sit down and craft a time frame for work, because somewhere in the middle of this session, there's going to be politics, and we will not be able to work. And it's important, Mr. Speaker, that we clear the most urgent business as quickly as possible. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to request and follow up on what Senator Wetangula said. There are people in the executive who are taking you and us for granted. We spend a lot of time here discussing revenue sharing formula and money, etc., etc. When Treasury publishes BPS without consulting leadership, it's nearly insubordination. The take or leave that has been the theater of every division of revenue is being repeated again, so that they start painting Senate as the people who are anti-development, anti-handshake, and all those things. Whilst ideally they should have consulted us in advance. Mr. Speaker, by the time this bill, the BPS is tabled, because I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, I will not whip for members to pass 326. I'll sit here and wait for it to fail. It will not happen. They will not agree. After the effort that we put in last year, Mr. Speaker, it's important that Treasury consults the leadership of this House or sits with us, members of this House. They cannot appear to take us for granted. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, another round of consultation is necessary for yourself and the top leadership, if not SBC, to sit with Treasury, sit with the executive and tell them what they are attempting to do is attempting to push through a camel through the eye of a needle. It will not happen. And it's going to be very dangerous, it's going to be very smoky, it's going to be very cantankerous, and there will be many casualties. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, before we get to that stage, I would urge we find a better method of dealing as opposed to what we ended up dealing here, Team Kenya, Team everything, Kangata and whatever, 1 man, 1 shilling, all those things that were said here by Senator Cherargei and others. I don't think we should repeat those mistakes again. Thank you, Speaker.
Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a light touch, I hope Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. is aware of consequences of going against the government position. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Senator Kwamboka understands very well. Mr. Speaker, I want to join you in welcoming colleagues from this long recess. I know there have been many issues across the holiday. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you also from the onset, maybe 3 issues only. One is on the issue of constitutional petition. And I'm happy, Speaker, that one of the legislations that we did get an order of republish was the Public Participation Bill. And it was an honor to represent you today in the morning during the Open Governance Partnership, OGP, that was chaired by His Excellency the Deputy President. And one of the bills that came to our attention was the Public Participation Bill. And we hope, Mr. Speaker, through the guidance of your office, we should be able to fast-track that bill so that it assists us with many issues that is coming up. Remember, we are pushing for progressive bills that are pro-hustler bills that will assist the Kenyans. And I want to put to perspective that when we say hustler, we don't mean any mischievous meaning. We mean that person who is lowest in who works hard work, that can earn honest living. We want to encourage that hard work pays, and that is what we stand for, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to agree that there are many bills that are pending, and we hope the committees will fast-track some of these issues that we believe in. Mr. Speaker, we hope the heart-moving and earthquakes that we are experiencing as the majority side, with many changes coming up, I know it will be brought to your attention, will allow us to be able to fast-track the legislative business of the House. I hope as our caucus, as we have been informed, will endeavor to support where necessary, especially in the interest of Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on another issue, secondly, before I conclude, to allow my colleagues to contribute on, is on the matter of health. I remember, Mr. Speaker, there is a petition that we have already served with your office, and I remember you gave direction on 27 December when we were discussing anti-doping amendment. We hope the Health Committee will be able to move with speed and address, Mr. Speaker, many Kenyans are forgetting that some counties, Mr. Speaker, out of victimization and out of strike, most of the employees that work with health department have been victimized. Others have been sacked. I'm aware of Meru County government where the medics have not been allowed to access their workplaces. There are many counties that the strike is still ongoing. There are many people who are still suffering, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope the Health Committee, I've seen quite a number of members, Senator Ledama Olekina, who is a member of Health Committee, will move and address the crisis that we are facing among the county health departments across the country. And I hope this should be a priority to the committee. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of formula, I have seen the baseline that the Ministry of Treasury, now that we are going to budget, that it is 326 billion. Mr. Speaker, it is very unfortunate. When you form a committee of special committee, and I was a privilege to be a member, we did agree that 370 billion was the baseline. And Mr. Speaker, even the Commission of Revenue Allocation, which is constitutional obligation, did provide direction that 370 billion should be the baseline, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with our colleagues that we are not saying mkutano itakwisha, but what we are saying, Mr. Speaker, is that we must agree on 370 billion. Our counties need a lot of resources. There are so many challenges. Our counties, although we are struggling with wage bill, Mr. Speaker, you saw the other day Nandi was struggling with 58%. I think Nairobi City County is also approaching at 57%. And it is very sad sort of affairs, Mr. Speaker. So for devolution to work, Mr. Speaker, we must endeavor to work with Treasury. We need another round of consultation. And I hope this time around, as Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., the minority whip, we don't need to fight. We need to build a consultation. We need to be optimistic. We have been told in some document called BBI that there is a chance of getting to the 5%. Mr. Speaker, we need to work to ensure that 15% is achieved. If we cannot even honor a presidential directive of 370 billion that we had agreed that county should get 370 billion, and Senator Petronila Were was the front runners then, with our majority whip, who is facing a lot of problems in his seat. We had agreed that let us be ambitious, Mr. Speaker. We were looking forward to 370 billion. So I think, Mr. Speaker, even as we tell Kenyans 35%, for example, is achievable through some document called BBI, we should be able to develop 15% and allow counties to function, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, I want to call upon your office that you need to do orientation, especially for the committee chairs and their vice chairs, so that when we seek statements, we seek petitions, you want to give directions, they are always in the House to take those directions. And I can see, I'm happy, my chair of National Cohesion and Integration, aka SCOOP, she's normally in the House, and my chair, my able chair, Professor Sam Ongeri, who is my able chair of County Public and Investment Committee, will be able to, we want chairs to be in the House, so that some of these issues, when you need direction, when you give interventions, they are able to rise up to the occasion. Mr. Speaker, we hope this year, heading to the general election, I want to appeal to my colleagues, let us do politics of decorum, let us be peaceful, let us allow. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, there is a saying that says, I might not like what you say, but I will defend the right to say it. So let us allow divergent views, but let us be respectful. Let us be peaceful. We don't want to see what we saw in Kisii. We don't want to see what we saw in Kidurai or Bama or anywhere in the country, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to see what is happening in Machakos, which is not a good indicator. We want to be peaceful. Let us respect each other. And I want to encourage my colleagues, led by Senator Orengo, Senator Kwamboka, that even as you sell BBI, please don't force us. Just talk to us nicely. You know, just talk to us nicely and make sure Kenyans understand. Give them copies. Let them understand what Senator, is this in document. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Remain relevant. Senator Professor Ongeri, BBI will come.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, let me congratulate all the senators for coming back in one piece in this area of pandemic. We just want to thank God that we're back in one piece. Secondly, I consider the Business Committee to be one of the premier committees of this House, and therefore I have no difficulties whatsoever of the names that have been proposed. They are men and women who will stand up to the integrity of this House, who will be able to defend the interests of this House to the fullest. And therefore, I will not even hesitate to recommend them to be in that committee. But, Mr. Speaker, there is a proviso, and they have seen several meanings floating on the floor here. Our responsibility as senators is to be able to keep the cohesiveness of this nation together. The sensitivity of our positions notwithstanding, we need to be able to promote the togetherness, the cohesiveness, and the application of the talents that we have to serve every cadre of the person. Sadly, this afternoon, I've had people categorizing the society of Kenya into various groups of people. Please remember that when you are elected, or when I was elected as a senator for Kisii County, I was elected for all classes of people. I was not elected for a particular class of people. I was elected for all the people who reside in that county. And therefore, my responsibility is to discharge my work, my representation to all these categories of people. And I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, advisedly. I've seen of late that this country is trooping towards a class classification. And that's a very dangerous tool. And I want to warn in time that let's desist from that level of thinking. My interest would be that this business committee, in fast-tracking the agenda of the House, will be able to look at the various categories of the bills of the agenda before the House, and then be able to categorize them in the area of socio-economic interests of this nation, in the area of children and women and the vulnerable groups, in the area of the societal agencies that we need to attend to, so that we can all together feel that we have been able to address the matters that affect this nation. And obviously, one of our pivotal roles is one of legislation. There are a lot of legislation pending before us, and I believe that this Business House Committee will have the ability and the capacity to generate work for this House so that we are able to sit down fruitfully and be able to prosecute the matters before this House through our committees and through the normal plenary sessions that we hold here. So we prosecute the matter to finality and be able to deliver to the Kenyan people the product that they need. Now, I heard something near about people making jokes about the BBI. I mean, one of the things that you are complaining about, that the 15% which is already in the Constitution is not even delivering the kind of money we are there. What we are saying now is that let it be in the Constitution, and let them somebody flout that Constitution. Let's follow the rule of law, and that's why the Business Committee is there to bring us to speed on how we should generate the bills that will create laws in this nation that will be bound to keep and maintain. I thank you and I support this committee. Thank you.
Senator Professor Margaret Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. First, to welcome my colleagues back after a good break, which was well earned after last year's very heavy agendas that we had. And even as I welcome them back, I want to wish them all the best in the year 2021 with their families. Mr. Speaker, our agenda between now and 2022 is almost cut out for us. But this is a period when we must leave a legacy as a House. This is a year when we must complete what we have started and complete it well. And I want to urge my colleagues that it is also a time when we must exercise patience with one another. We must exercise tolerance. We must exercise a lot of decorum in the House, because it is very, very important that we don't just wind up our term next year with nothing that will be remembered for. I think this is the period when this second Senate will be remembered for more things. It's my prayer that COVID disappears so that we go back to our county visits, because, Mr. Speaker, that was a creation of this Senate, and it had a lot of impact, not only amongst us, but on the grounds where we have gone to. The counties we have visited have had lasting memories. I know what happened in Uasin Gishu. We have had lasting memories, and we have been able to personally follow up some of the things that were raised when this Senate was in Uasin Gishu to the benefit of the people of Uasin Gishu. Never forget the issue of the Health Committee discussing the matter of the level 5, the absence of level 5 hospital in Uasin Gishu, We have followed it, and today we are very proud that we are about to complete that. Those were advices that were done on the ground because Senate committees dispersed to various corners of the county, and they were able to point out some of the things that we need to be doing as a county. So it is my prayer that we are able to. My plea, Mr. Speaker, to this committee that I strongly support, because this was the same House Business Committee that came up with these agendas, is that if it will be possible, as COVID disappears, let's even go twice a year to counties. It is possible because we are going to use facilities that are on the ground. I know we left out Busia narrowly, the place of the most senior senator we have here. We were supposed to be going to Busia, and there was very high competition between counties to host. So it will be possible for us to move around. So my encouragement is that this House business will find it within their preferences to give us 2 or so visits outside this Senate. That way, Mr. Speaker, we'll get to know the country. Some people are talking of Northern Kenya, and they've never stepped in Northern Kenya. It is important that we have a session in parts of Northern Kenya, whether we are going to Garissa, Mandera, or Marsabit. It is very, very important. When I was in the East African community, I had a visit of Marsabit and Mandera for the first time, and it changed the way I think about my country forever. And that is what really made me love this country, because we have variety, but we must also learn to embrace one another and to know the challenges that each corner of the country has. So I support this list for continuity purposes and urge them to really look at what our in-tray has, because we have a full in-tray which we must deal with, and deal with in a timely manner. I also want to encourage the chairs of committees, Mr. Speaker, to really fast-track the agendas that are before them. There are many who still have reports that are pending. Some have petitions that have not been completed. Really want to urge them that this is our last stretch, and we must leave a mark. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I would like to congratulate the lawyers in the House for the great win that we had last week. They did it pro bono. We are told we didn't even pay for their tea. Mr. Speaker, I hope you will find it in your kind heart, a way of giving them tea. I know Senator Mutula had put a statement that I don't understand Kiswahili very well, but he said an empty something cannot be an empty. Mr. Speaker, they understand it because they all read that. So find it in your kind heart, find space to enable these great lawyers that have really saved us over 90, I hear it was over 90 million, to really enjoy your cup of tea. If it's not ours, it is your cup of tea. Give them a cup of tea and make them feel that this House has been grateful. But on behalf of the House, I want to really thank them for a job well done. Thank you, and God bless you.
Senator Wako.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on this. First, I'll just tell on the motion itself. It does appear to me, Mr. Speaker, sir, that when we are reviewing the rules, the orders, we should do some slight amendment here. On the list, we have 7 members to be approved by this House. And those 7, to me, are able, and I endorse them completely. But when the rule says 9 other senators, the list should actually have been 9. But I'm told that there are 7 because you have taken into account sub-order 4, which says that in nominating senators to the Senate Business Committee, each parliamentary party shall include a whip into the membership. A whip is part of the leadership of the House. So to me, the whip should have been there in their own right as whips, and they should have been mentioned at the very beginning along with Speaker, Majority, Minority Leader, and so on. Because a whip cannot really say that he's speaking on behalf of the members, to me. So they're actually reducing the slot for ordinary members like us, who could be there and you can have an input and so on. A person who whips you cannot thereafter represent you.
I tell you.
It's a contradiction in term. Really a contradiction in term. So maybe when you're looking at these regulations, that's one area where I think there ought to be some slight amendment so that we ordinary folk in this house can have an opportunity to sit on the House Business Committee. Now, having said that, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to say about the business of the House. There's been a strong plea from Linturi and others about legislation which affects poor people. And I agree that legislation should also be prioritized. Mr. Speaker, sir, I see a lot of artificial cleavage in the society between hustlers and other people. To me, it is absolutely artificial, propagated to promote selfish ambitions of politicians. If you look in the BBI report, and I'm sorry I don't have it, we actually, if you take the hustler to be one of the hardcore poor people, mostly young, who are struggling to make a living, to me, that's a hustler. If you take that to be, the BBI actually addressed that, not only in the Constitution, but also in legislation. And there are a number of legislations we drafted just to deal with that issue, to deal with the Article 43, which provides for economic and social rights for those type of people. Very good. To deal with the youth, Article 55, to deal with PWD, Article 54, to deal with Article 56, minorities and marginalized groups. Very detailed legislation is there in the BBI. So my appeal to you, on both sides, is that when that legislation comes, give it priority, because it's yet a legislation which both sides will be saying we want to deal with the issue of the hardcore poverty. We should not make it appear as if it's only one group which is concerned about the hardcore poverty, and the other group is not concerned. The other group is just concerned with some oppositions up there. If you read our BBI report, you'll see that we spend far much more time and effort and calling for experts on how to deal with these hardcore poverty people. So my appeal to you, like my former chairman of legal committee has said, that when those bills come, I will not want to see the type of artificial, to me it's artificial, the debates here on that issue. Oh, you are so and so, you are doing what? Just look at the bill on its own merits, make a well-reasoned out arguments, and we vote in a very sober way. It's coming. In fact, I was very pleased the other day when I think the other side did recognize that in this constitutional bill, we have taken care of, under Article 11, economy and shared property. I think they did recognize that the amendments that the BBI recommended on that particular issue can provide the anchor in which we can have a legislation, not just legislation, but we can have also administrative policies and so on, which deal with this issue of poverty. And therefore, if you approach it together, I think we shall get very far in addressing the problem. The Senate is supposed to provide exemplary example. It's supposed to provide, actually, even the political culture of tolerance, reasoned out arguments, and so on. And when these bills come, I would like the Senate coming out very clearly as one which has provided that atmosphere, that political climate, everything has come from this Senate, which consists of very, very able people as I look around. Even the young ones have become leaders. When you put Senate to a young person here, a Senate, a young man, he has become, by virtue of being here, has become a great leader in their own right. So I'm very, very proud that the old people, that some of this was this. I become very satisfied knowing that when I go, the young ones are there and they can ably step in my shoes and continue to lead this country in a proper direction, away from what we are now having in the society. So that's my appeal. Legislation, if we prioritize BBI, we would also be actually addressing the problems of hardcore poverty in this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Hargura.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to join you in welcoming the members back from the long recess, and also like to support the motion and approval of senators to serve in the Senate Business Committee. And Mr. Speaker, we have a lot of work to do. You know very well we had gone to court, and courts have agreed with us that the legislations which did not go through Senate need to be recalled. I also like to thank the lawyers in the House, led by Senior Counsel James Orengo, for the work they have done. And now it's on us now to put in our effort in terms of making sure that we pass those legislations, the 20+ legislations. And this is now also an interesting time because this session might be filled with a lot of politics. We have BBI, we have the 2022 politics shaping up, which by virtue of being politicians, most of us might be involved in that. So this House Business Committee needs to plan its the business of the House in such a way that we are able to deliver still on our mandates, especially the legislative ones, taking into account that the members might be attracted towards the politics of BBI and also the 2022 politics which are shaping up. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to urge the members to focus very well, and before we get into those political side issues, they make sure that we have our legislative agenda taken care of so that we deliver, especially on the bills which were recalled because of our own action. Let's make sure that we prove that we are not doing that just to show that we need to participate in legislative process, but we actually participate and improve the qualities of all those bills which are recalled. Thank you.
Tamasinzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to join you into welcoming my colleagues back to this session. Mr. Speaker, I do also support or stand here to support the list that has been proposed to serve in the SPC, and I know that they are up to the mandate and they will deliver because we have seen before the names that have been presented work very well, despite the fact that we have been having a lot of work to be done, but they have done well, and I know the names that have been proposed this time round again, they are going to do well. Mr. Speaker, it is true that through coordination, communication, cooperation, and fast-tracking of the bills in this House will actually be the key mandate for us to work. And the cooperation that will be between you and the SPC, together with the liaison group, will help us achieve the goals that we are intending to achieve as a House. Mr. Speaker, bills are key not only to this House, but to Kenya as a whole. And if we fast track the bills that are pending, especially when it comes to liaison committee, where the chairs of different committees take up their mandate and work closely with the members of various committees, then we are very sure of achieving as a Senate, and not just for the sake of coming here and wasting a lot of time. Mr. Speaker, last session, we lost one of our own, Senator Kabaka. It was very hard. But we know that we are not going to waste a lot of time going around politicking, but we are going to look around and work along the lines that will help us achieve what is in this house, other than just going around and politicking, especially where most of us are indulging into even parties that are not even known, and wasting a lot of time other than working toward achieving what this Senate is. Mr. Speaker, it is important for us to cooperate with you. It is important for us to work with SPC. It is important for us to work with liaison and other teams or other committees that are in this house, so that we can achieve, and Kenya will look at us as a house of achievement and a house of respect. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, when we were doing induction, and when I was new in this house, there was a presentation that was done with our Apple clerk on analysis of bills that were pending, other business of the house that were pending. And I was very keen to look at it. We need to have, at least we up our game and make sure that we have achieved that the other house did achieve, and we do more and fast track to achieve what is for us for this particular session. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Senator Mogeni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to join my colleagues and you, Mr. Speaker, in welcoming my colleague senators back from the long recess. And of course, Mr. Speaker, we must really thank God that we are back alive because of the effects and the loss of life that has been caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Speaker, while on my feet, I also want to take this opportunity to pass my message of condolences to the family of Mzee Nyachai. I say pole to the widow, mother, Mwango, and Grace, and also to Charles and the entire family for the loss of their dear father, Mzee Nyachai. I hope, Mr. Speaker, that we'll get an opportunity to pay tribute to Mzee Nyachai for the role that he played as a leader in our great country called Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I also want to join my colleague, Senator Orengo, in first really congratulating the judiciary, because last week, Mr. Speaker, we appeared before the Court of Appeal, where the National Assembly was seeking to stay the order that was issued by the High Court. But commendably, and I think guided by the law and nothing else, the Court of Appeal refused to grant stay to the National Assembly. The effect of that, Mr. Speaker, is that this House continues to enjoy the fruits of that judgment that was obtained from the High Court. And we must really thank our colleagues, Senator Mutula, Senator Orengo, who joined us all the way from Dubai. Technology has brought so many benefits, Mr. Speaker. But also, Mr. Speaker, there is another cadre of people we keep on forgetting. Our members of staff from the legal department, who do a lot of work behind the scenes. Mr. Speaker, this is the team that prepares the submissions. These are the team that burns midnight oil to ensure that the papers that are needed to be filed in court are filed timeously. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, our clerk, when the time comes, a proposal has been made that some of us should be considered to get some state commendation titles. I hope, Mr. Speaker, that the Parliamentary Service Commission, through our two commissioners and through the clerk, will also treat those members of staff with fairness when issues of promotion arise. Mr. Speaker, we should not leave them to be at the mercy of other members of the Commission from the National Assembly who may really hit back on them because they really do a lot of effort in ensuring that they support the team of senior counsels in prosecuting these matters in court. Mr. Speaker, I fully support the members who have been proposed to serve in the House Business Committee. Most of them are colleagues we have worked with. They are people we know are very dedicated. They are first among equal, and they served us very well last time. And I hope they will continue with that tradition. And I hope they will give priority, Mr. Speaker, to some of the bills that Parliament as an institution has really lagged behind. Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate that we have had the 2010 Constitution with us for 8 years now, and we knew that in that Constitution we enacted chapters that necessitates any amendment to the Constitution to be done through the referendum, but we have never enacted the referendum law. I think, Mr. Speaker, to be fair to ourselves, that is a big indictment to us. Mr. Speaker, you saw what happened in the county of Siaya. Because there is no law that guides how we should conduct issues of referendum, though the Constitution gives them 90 days, that should accord them an opportunity to do public participation, to involve the people of Siaya. Mr. Speaker, that bill was enacted in a record 1 day, and I think it's us who should stand indicted, because if we had enacted the referendum law, then the county assemblies would have had a legislation that guides them. I really hope that HBC will give this piece of legislation priority so that we are able to guide our 47 counties. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, we will be opening this very good idea of BBI into unnecessary litigation that could have been avoided. And while on this, Mr. Speaker, you know, last week I was among mourners who attended the funeral of the father of the deputy governor of Kisii. And Mr. Speaker, unless we do some civic education and tell the people who belong to the Hustler Nation what hustlers are meant to do and what they should not do, Mr. Speaker, you find yourself in a situation where people who attend forums are intolerant. They don't want to hear an alternative view. Because, Mr. Speaker, while we were in Kisii, a member of parliament just rose up to make a proposal that the issue of presidency should be rotational, and that some regions should also get opportunities for presidency. But we want ourselves. Within no second, Mr. Speaker, I was shocked to see a member of parliament dressed in a red tie, a white shirt, a black suit, you know, jumping to a table which was as high as where you are sitting, Mr. Speaker, simply because he believes that Hustler Nation should not be tolerant to hear an alternative view. Mr. Speaker, that is a narrative that those who are leading the Hustler Nation really should take seriously. When you go to forums, Mr. Speaker, accept it that there are people who will be drumming up support for other presidential candidates. If you go to a funeral, and I hope when they come to Muzenya Chai, let them talk to the Omo Gusii Nation humbly. We don't want fights in Gusii. We don't want war in Kisii, Mr. Speaker. We will give them an opportunity to sell their ideas. If people also have ideas to, you know, they have candidates they want to market, we should give them an opportunity to share those views with the people without inviting fights. Mr. Speaker, that was very shameful, and we were very tolerant because as Kisiis we don't like fights, but we really want to urge people from the Hustler Nation not to sell that narrative that they are very intolerant to any other candidate seeking presidency other than one that leads the Hustler Nation. Mr. Speaker, that's not the way to lead a country towards an election. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I really hope that the House business will also be able to track some of the very important issues that were raised before this House, over which we have not answers. Issues of coffee, the coffee fund, Mr. Speaker. Last time, Senator Wetangula, in a very passionate appeal on the floor of this House, raised the unfairness in disbursements of the coffee fund. And I remember there was a promise that was made by the chair of the Committee of Agriculture, that Western Kenya regions, including my own county of Nyamira, will get consideration during this financial year on disbursements of that coffee fund. So Speaker, I want to really tell the incoming members of HBC that these counties are waiting, including my own county of Nyamira, and that we want to really see fairness to all the coffee farmers in this country. And the Speaker, with those many remarks, I support the membership and wish them a very successful tenure as they serve this honorable House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Milgo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me also take this time to support the senators that have been proposed to serve in the House Business Committee and really say I've seen the names and they are equal to the task. I know it has been said that there is a lot, the tray is full. However, I want to really encourage them that with a lot of hard work, they'll be able to overcome, or in this case, accomplish the work that is before them. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me also thank the legal counsel for the success that they were able to stamp the authority to all and sundry that the Senate is the upper house. And at the same time, the legal counsel in this house were able to ensure that the Senate did not lose even 1 shilling. Congratulations. And I want to say you deserve a pat on your backs. Mr. Speaker, sir, while we want this, I know there is a lot of backlog right now in terms of bills. And in this case, I wish to appeal to the House Business Committee that at the course of ordering the work that is going to be done in this House, let them really exercise a lot of fairness because of the fact that some of the bills that were withdrawn were maiden bills for some of the people in this House, and it may end up that the same bills may lapse, and it would look like some people in this House have not even produced any bill at all. Mr. Speaker, sir, last year was a wonderful year, despite the fact that we almost had a challenge in terms of revenue sharing bill. However, it is my hope that this year I will not spend a lot of time when it comes to that. In addition to that, we know this year is a year that is approaching. We are approaching electioneering year. There is PPI, there is politicking in terms of 2022 elections, but I want to encourage my colleagues to actually exercise a pride so that we appreciate that this is a multi-party country, and at the same time, let us agree to disagree. Let us accept to listen to various issues, and in this case, from there, we can see others so that we do not come to fights like we saw in Kisii. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, I want to say during the holidays, the long recess, I lost my mom, and I want to take this opportunity to thank the senators who actually prayed to my family members. They also supported me financially, and I want to specifically thank the Deputy Speaker, Senator Professor Margaret Kamar, and Senator Deputy Majority Whip, and Senator Dr. Gertrude Musuruve for actually finding time, together with Senator Christopher Lagat, for finding time to come and condole with us during that time. Indeed, we were very happy. The Deputy Speaker was able to convey your condolences to my family, Mr. Speaker, sir, and we felt encouraged, we were comforted, and I want to say thank you so much. Otherwise, let me thank the senators for the wonderful contribution. I want to also encourage ourselves that let us continue supporting one another in such issues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mwaruma.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity you've given me to support the motion reconstituting the Senate Business Committee. For starters, Mr. Speaker, allow me to wish all members a prosperous New Year 2021. As we begin this year, Mr. Speaker, As others have already said, we have a lot of pending business in the House, and I would like to congratulate you, all the members in this committee, under your able chairmanship, because it has served us below, and we know that the members in this committee have applied themselves judiciously in making sure that the business of this House has run very well. I would like to say, Mr. Speaker, that there's a lot of pending business in this House in terms of bills, petitions, motions that are still pending, and I would like to urge the new Senate Business Committee to fast track the pending business of the House. There's a lot of business, including bills, Mr. Speaker, that were nullified because of the court ruling, and which require republication. I would like to urge you, Mr. Speaker, that the Senate Business Committee expedites action so that we have the bills are republished, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I would like to look at the philosophical underpinning the constitution of this Senate Business Committee, Mr. Speaker, because we have very diligent people in this list, very able, and people who are full of color. However, Mr. Speaker, I would like to address myself to an issue of institutional memory when you come to a new House in future. Because, Mr. Speaker, and this has been alluded to by Senator Murkomen, that we need to have also some people serving here, because as we know, we are moving towards elections, Mr. Speaker, and we do not know which members will be firstly re-elected back to this Senate. Number two, other people might be going for different seats, like governors, like the presidency. So assuming that only these members who are, or all these members who have been serving in the last 4 sessions do not find their way back into this House, what will happen? We'll have very new members who will be tinkering, understanding House business, and therefore I would urge, Mr. Speaker, that if it is possible along the way, along this year, if you can have new people, maybe have a mix of the people who are here and some new people, so that if we have the next parliament, we have that institutional memory in place. Otherwise, I support the whole list as it is, and I wish you the best of luck as we steer this House in this year 2021. I thank you.
Senator Mazayo.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, kwanza nataka nijiunge nawe na kukushukuru sana na kuweza pia kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu zaidi ya kwamba tumeweza kurudi katika likizo iliyokuwa ya Krismasi na mwaka mpya, na vile vile kwamba kulikuwa na mambo mengi yaliyotendeka ambayo pengine ni ya hatari, kuna mazishi, na wengine kama sisi ambao pengine Mwenyezi Mungu ametupatia ile baraka na huruma yake ya kuweza kuona mwaka huu tukiwa na afya njema. Nataka kushukuru sana pia vile vile kwa makaribisho yako kwamba tumerudi na wote tukionekana kwamba tuko katika buheri ya afya. Bwana Spika, pia nataka kuunga mkono ile listi ambayo imepeanwa ya maseneta ambao watahusikana katika ile kamati ya bunge la Senate ya kuweza kuendesha ratiba. Nafikiria hawa maseneta wote ni watu ambao wamefaulu katika nyadhifa zao, na vile vile mpaka sasa tuko katika mwaka wa 3 ama wa 4, wao wameweza kuthibitisha umahari wao. Bwana Spika, jambo la muhimu ni kwamba lazima tuzingatie mambo ya wananchi, na vile vile ni kwamba wananchi wa Kenya wana imani sana na bunge la Senate kulingana na ile mijadala ambayo imeweza kuletwa mbele ya Senate na kujadiliwa kwa kima cha heshima, na vile vile kuona ya kwamba maseneta ni watu ambao wanajiweka ama wanajiheshimu. Sisi sio watu ambao tunaweza kupigana mandondi mbele ya wananchi ama mbele ya tafrija ya watu wengi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Tumejiwekea heshima na natumaini itaendelea hivyo hivyo. Nataka niwapatie pia kongole maseneta kwa kuweza kuweka kielelezo cha kwamba kama mnataka bunge liheshimiwe, basi nyinyi muwe kama sisi maseneta hapa. Bwana Spika, kwanza nataka tutambue uwepo wa maseneta ambao ni wale tunaita maseneta wakongwe, ambao wameweka takriban heshima yao katika utendakazi. Na tukiangalia sisi katika haya mabunge mawili, tunapata ya kwamba katika bunge la Senate ndio kuna maseneta ambao wamebobea. Hapa tukiwa hapa ndani tuko na Senator Amos wako Sweetsila, ambaye yeye hata huna haja ya kuongea, anaweza kuchambua sheria vile inavyotakana. Vile vile tukiwa na kama Samo Kongo, na pia ndugu yetu James Orengo, Murkomen pande hii tukiwa Mutula Kilonzo Junior, akiiga mfano babake mzee Kalonzo Senior. Kwa hiyo bunge la Senate ni bunge ambalo liko na takriban ya watu kadha ambao wako na uwezo wa kufanya shughuli hii bila kujali malipo. Bwana Spika, utaona ya kwamba katika utendakazi wa mawakili ulimwengu mzima wanavaa gown nyeusi, sio ile ya mtunga, ile ya green, lakini wanavaa koti lile leusi, na hapa utaona kuna kitu kinatembea kwa mgongo. Hicho ni kama kipochi. Zamani mawakili walikuwa hawawezi kuitisha pesa, lakini wakifanya kazi wao wamefanya kazi kusaidia jamii. Hapa hawa mawakili wetu walijitolea kusaidia bunge la Senate ili kuweza kueleka kielelezo cha wale wataokuja nyuma zetu kama maseneta. Kwa hiyo kongole sana ndugu yangu Samo Kongo Omogendi, Omogendi na Mutula Kilonzo Junior, na pia vile vile James Orengo na wengineo walioweza kushirikiana na baadhi ya hawa mawakili kuweza kupigana huko ndani ya koti, na hatimaye tukaweza kushinda zile sheria ambazo zilipitishwa bila ruksa ama bila majadiliano, hususan wewe na wale wanaohusikana na katika hizo bills, na ziliweza kupelekwa kwa rais na zikatiwa kidole kinyume cha sheria. Hawa walifanya juhudi, na hivi sasa inabainika wazi kabisa ya kwamba hakuna chochote kitapitishwa ndani ya bunge la National Assembly ambacho kinahusikana na mambo ya ugatuzi ama chochote vile bila kupitia hapa. Hiyo ni heko kubwa sana. Bwana Spika, siko hapa kusema ya kwamba pengine walipwe, hapana. Lakini kuna ile tunaita imani pia ni kutiana moyo. Jambo kama hili ni kwamba ile ambayo tunafikiria ama tutaona, ama wewe mwenyewe ukiketi katika ile hali yako ukiona ikiwa wanafaa, wao hawatakuuliza. Kile kifuko kiko hapa nyuma ya zile koti, wewe nenda ukaweke vile unavyofikiria, alafu wao wataenda zao na watakupatia shukrani. Bwana Spika, la mwisho ni kwamba zile mijadala ambayo tunaileta katika bunge lazima tuhakikishe ya kwamba wananchi tumewapatia kipaumbele katika mijadala yetu. Tusifanye vitu ambavyo vitaweza kuleta mtafaruku. Kama sasa kuna watu ambao ukiwauliza ni kwa nini wewe unapinga BBI, yeye hajaisoma, hajui kumeandikwa nini, lakini yeye atakwambia tayari mimi siitaki. Alafu katika hali ya mtafaruku, pengine watu wanaweza kuanza kupigana na maisha kupotea, na kama pengine kujeruhiwa. Kwa hiyo tunasema ya kwamba tuwe wa kwanza kama kielelezo. BBI si kitu kipya kwetu sisi. Bwana Spika, tulikuwa na BBI wakati ule mwingine, na pia vile vile iliweza kupita na tukapata katiba mpya mwaka 2010. Sasa mwaka 2000 kama hiyo imetokea tena baada ya miaka 11. Mambo mengi sana yamegeuka, yanahitaji kugeuzwa na kuona kwamba nchi hii kutakuwa na imani, kutakuwa na upendo, kutakuwa na watu wakiishi na furaha baada ya kwamba wamepiga kura. Kusitokee jambo baya ambalo litafanya mimi nianze kuchukia huyu kwa sababu ni kabila Mkalenjin, huyu ni Mkikuyu, huyu ni Mkamba, huyu namna hiyo. Sote tuwe kama Wakenya. Kwa hiyo tunasema ya kwamba wale wasiofahamu lazima wapate nafasi ya kuuliza ili wapate kuelezwa. Mambo yaliyotokea mahali kama Githurai ama Bama ama kwingineko katika taifa la Kenya, aibu kubwa katika mazishi, watu wanazusha, wanaanza kutandikana makonde. Hiyo haifai. Na aibu ndogo ndogo kama hizi sisi tukiwa waheshimiwa ni lazima tujiheshimu kwanza. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, mimi nataka kumalizia nikisema kwamba katika wale waliochaguliwa katika harakati zote za bunge ambazo tutazifanya, hao ni wa maseneta ambao ni wakakamavu, na mimi ningeendelea kujiunga nao ya kwamba ni sawa kabisa. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Pareno.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion and also to join you to wish my colleagues a happy new year. You know, Mr. Speaker, we ended on a sad note last year when we lost our very own, the late Senator Kabaka. So we must be grateful to God that we are all in one piece after that, and he has been gracious enough to give us good health as we begin the year. Mr. Speaker, we know the members that are listed here as the House Business Committee. We know the capabilities of each of them because we've been here long enough to know them. Mr. Speaker, it was funny to hear Senator Murkomen is not here, saying that he's happy that he has a few who he can rely on to checkmate on behalf of the Hustler Nation. But I choose to look at the members not as hustlers, not as whatever. I choose to look at them as members of their own right in this Senate, members who can represent all of us and the business that we have, members who can take forth the mandate of the Senate on behalf of the counties and not on behalf of whether hustler or no hustler. In any event, our country is made up of all of us, and we must be proud of who we are. So, Mr. Speaker, I am sure that they'll take up their job well. They did very well in the last session, and most of them, looking at Senator Dulo, is one of the celebrated ladies in this Senate, being in the leadership, and having come here as an elected senator, so you can imagine how much input she has. I sit with her in the Security Committee, very committed member. The same to Senator Sakaja, who was our chair in the Security Committee. The same to the rest of the members, Senator Kwahom Boka, who is our whip. So this is a good team. Senator Charles Kibiru has been a chair of a committee. Cleophas Malala himself is also in leadership. Senator Ledama. So we don't really doubt their capability. So we only wish them well, let them continue with their job. If they had done so badly, Mr. Speaker, then we'd be shouting here saying that they should not continue. But we have no issue with how they were able to run the business last time. I am sure you have a good team here that will hold your hand as you steer forward for the Senate to this session. And we are happy that we are back and they are able to take us through. So, Mr. Speaker, I congratulate them that they are back and they are back in their committees. You remember last time we had a lot of issues even reconstituting the House business. Not the House business, but the CPIC. we even took time to also reconstitute the delegated legislation committee because both sides were haggling as to who should be in what committee. So the fact that we are starting on a high note with this team, with nobody saying that none of them should sit, is a fresh start for all of us for this year. So, Mr. Speaker, I support and I thank you.
Senator Nyamunga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First of all, I just want to join my colleagues in thanking God for allowing us to be back. All of us, we did not hear anything about happening to any one of us. So we thank God for that. And secondly, I just want to support the motion on the membership of the committee that is being given a new mandate to continue with the work that they've been doing as the House Business Committee. Mr. Speaker, I do not have a problem with the list, and all the members are equal to the task. The only thing that I would like to urge most of the members that have been given this opportunity is that we should work and serve with a lot of dedication. I don't doubt it, they've been doing it. And also to look at the work that is before the Senate. The Senate has done a lot of work, and I think the country at large has been looking up to the Senate for legislation and the type of debate that has been carried out in this House. So I would really like to urge them to look at the pending bills, the pending motions, and even the bills. Personally, I have a bill. To me, it's a very important bill that we should not come again to the end of this year without looking at it, because it is one bill that once it is passed, it should go a long way to help the county governments in finding ways of raising their own resources, apart from relying on the national government, because the national government, as we all know, is overburdened. And looking at our debt situation growing by the day, we must look elsewhere. Even as a family, you cannot look at employment, income from employment alone. You must look at, outside the box and find ways of survival. And it's not only that bill that is important. I believe there are so many other bills pending which are very important and crucial to this House, and petitions, motions, and even statements. There are some which are still pending. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to thank you very much because in my view and from where I sit, you've done very well, very, very well. And it's not just a matter of talking or because you are here, Mr. Speaker. It cuts across, and everybody tells us, even from the other house, that they wish they were here because of our speaker. So that gives us a lot of joy to know that, that you are being appreciated. And our staff. In fact, when I joined this house, I was so encouraged, because if you compare this house and the National Assembly, which had had an opportunity to serve there in the last parliament, the difference is so big. There's a lot of dedication from our staff. I don't know whether it is because we are few, but it's not about that. They do a lot of work, from the clerk to all the staff at the committee level. We've really had no issues. If any member has a problem, it's really ourselves to blame, but our staff are always at hand to support us. So we must encourage them and to let them know that we know and we appreciate the work that they do. The staff, all of us, even the security system, all of us in this house, I think we are doing a good job. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, you know, Constitution is made by the people for the people. And sometimes we've not behaved very well, even in this house. We cannot point fingers out there and we leave ourselves. Even in this house, sometimes we forget our responsibility and go off. In sometimes the words that we use, the behavior at times, it's not been very, very cultured. We've not been so cultured. But about BBI, I know it is coming. It is right now at the county assemblies. But I just want to encourage us that when it comes here, we should just be able to follow the procedure and debate very soberly, because Constitution is made by us for us. And if for any reason we need that, we want to change it. I think the Constitution of America, from what I've heard, it has been, I think, amended like about 26 times, if I'm not wrong, or 27. So nothing stops us from adjusting our constitution because it is for the people, by the people. And we have been mandated as leaders to do that. So as we wait for this bill to debate on it, I want to urge our members that we should we should really restrain and give a very good example to Kenya as a whole, because Kenya has a lot of hope in the Senate. So I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Finally, Senator Zani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand also to support the approval of senators to serve in the Senate Business Committee in this session. And let me start by first thanking all of us that we've been able to come back safely, and also to pray for the soul of our senator, dearly departed Senator Kabaka, who passed away when we were on recess. And, you know, just to thank God that we have the presence to be here, to keep in mind the responsibilities that we have as a nation and in the work that we have to do, which is really ahead of us. I've looked through the names of the members in this committee. These are senators who have served in different capacities, and we're sure they're going to be able to do their work very, very well. And I think now more than ever before, when we are finally actualizing the meaningful application of Article 110(3) in the Senate, which is allowing us to do something that we've tried to do for such a long time, really just getting in place a mechanism so that there's a way to jointly resolve any question as to whether a bill concerning counties is concerning counties, or whether it is a special or ordinary bill, and whether this has to be tackled by the National Assembly or the Senate. So we have been able to resolve that now through the landmark ruling. Mr. Speaker, what it implies is that we're going to be a Senate in a very unprecedented position, where we're looking at so many of the bills that had already been introduced in this House. They had gone through first reading, second reading, third reading, and now they are being republished. Mr. Speaker, this is really a challenge for many senators, because they really have to go through these bills all over again and contextualize them with this new light. I just wish to request that even as the Business Committee puts its work into place, that they're able to really prioritize this so that we can actually have the assistance that is required to quickly bring these bills into place. And I know that, for example, the staff of the Senate have been working very, very hard, already republishing many of these bills, and I think they will do very, very well. But I think when it comes to the Senate Business Committee, I think prioritizing this will help senators who had already brought these bills, who had gone through all these stages. I think also one of the things that will happen is that many of the bills are already well known by most of the members, and I hope that we'll be able to quickly go through it. Mr. Speaker, I know over time we always have the issue of time and allocation of time for the various statements, which is okay because these are also important. But I think given the challenge that this ruling has come when we are left with about 1.5 years to the end of this Senate, it will be very, very good and very, very helpful if we are able to strategize and organize ourselves in such a way that we'll be able to quickly bring these bills onto the floor of the House at the time when they're required to come on the floor of the House, and that we are able to quickly expedite them and be able to push them to the next level. Because, Mr. Speaker, these bills are about various interests of the counties. I've heard Senator Nyamunga speak about her bill, which is also on the line, and many other senators would also talk about also the same thing. Mr. Speaker, the other issue I think which is very prominent, which we might want to look through at this session or during this session, and maybe the Senate Business Committee can also help us to prioritize this, because it is the Senate Business Committee that actually prioritizes the business of the House and brings this business onto the floor of the House at the times it is required, is to do with the mediation committees. Mr. Speaker, especially when there is an engagement that involves both the National Assembly and the Senate, I feel that the coordination that needs to be put in place to ensure that quickly mediation committees can be put into place can actually happen faster. Because I know from the Senate, we usually give the names of the people who are in a particular committee, who are going to be members in the mediation committee, and from the National Assembly, members will be in the committee. But sometimes it takes some time for all these members to actually get a chance for them to start even the first meeting. Yes, they are informed. Yes, they are meant to propel, but sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. And I know the chairman of the committees have been working very hard to push this agenda. So I'm hoping that the coordination will be better, that the mediation committees can quickly coordinate and fast track so that both the National and Assembly and the Senate can quickly be able to push the agenda that is required. I think this is going to be an exciting session for this Senate, even as we move towards the end period of this Senate. And Mr. Speaker, I am sure that with this business committee in place, we'll be able to move this agenda of the Senate as we expect to always. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
May I now call upon the mover to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to reply, and let me join you and my colleagues in welcoming members back to this session. Mr. Speaker, a lot of issues were raised by members that is really going to strengthen the work of the committee, and I hope the Secretariat will be able to tease out all the issues raised by members so that we can look at them and prioritize them, which is also very, very important because having been in this house last session, this is normally a very a challenging stretch because most of the members will be now preparing for campaign. And I hope the committee will seriously take their responsibilities in ensuring that the work given to them is being delivered in time and not disappoint members. Again, Mr. Speaker, maybe I will request members, especially those who have motions and bills before this House. Sometimes it has been challenging for us as leaders to look around for you to come and move your motion or actually reply to your motion or move your bill and all that. So it requires both way commitment where members are really present when your motion is ready for moving and when your motion is ready also for replying. So I think with that, I take this opportunity to move, and I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I now put the question, which is that pursuant to Standing Orders 184 and 189.3, the Senate approves the following senators nominated to serve in the Senate Business Committee, in addition to the Speaker of the Senate, who pursuant to Standing Order 184.1 shall be the chairperson of the committee, the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, the Senate Majority Whip, and the Senate Minority Whip. 1, Senator Fatuma Dulo, CBS MP. 2, Senator Sakaja Johnson, CBS MP. 3, Senator Gideon Moi, CBS MP. 4, Senator Charles Kibiru, MP. 5, Senator Cleophas Malala, MP. 6, Senator Beatrice Kwamboka, MP. And 7, Senator Ledama Olekina, MP. As many are of that opinion, say aye. As many are of a counter of you, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay, order, Senators. The motion having passed, just like I did say in my communication, the SBC will meet here in the next, after 5 minutes. So, Honorable Senators, there being no other business, it is now time to adjourn the House. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until Wednesday, 10th February, 2021 at 2:30 p.m.